All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Wheeler. I am the Director of New Student and Family Services. So our office puts on the Student Orientation Advising and Registration Program known as SOAR throughout the summer. We are really excited to welcome you this afternoon to our webinar on learning communities, knowing that this year is our first year in launching our virtual SOAR program and our webinar series. Along with that, we are excited to have you join us to learn a little bit more about opportunities for our students through learning communities on campus. So before we get started, I want to share a few housekeeping reminders with everyone, just so that we all know how to use this Zoom conference consistently across everyone. So before we get started, I ask that you know that your camera and your audio are both muted. So we cannot see or hear our participants during this session. That's to help minimize the feedback that we get and make sure that everyone is able to hear the presenters appropriately. We will also not be using the chat function that's available at the bottom of your screen. So if you click it, it will tell you that chat has been disabled. We are doing that so that you will use the question and answer section also available at the bottom of your screen. And so if you have a question that pops up during the session, please type that into the Q&A box. I will be monitoring that, and then at the end of the presentation, I will facilitate the questions being asked to our presenters through that Q&A opportunity that you have. We will be recording this session and we will post it to our YouTube channel next week. And so if there's more information that you want to come back to, revisit, if you're taking notes and you missed something, you'll have access to that via our website and YouTube next week. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jamal and Stephanie, who are going to share more information with you about our learning community opportunities on campus.
Hello, I hope everyone's having a fantastic afternoon on this wonderful June day. My name is Jamal Cooks. I am a residential education coordinator here at UNC Charlotte. I work in Hawthorne Hall, which is where our engineering learning community resides. And so I'm super excited to be talking with you all about learning communities today.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Rewitzer and I'm the Assistant Director also here in Residence Education. I'm excited for Jamal to give you all a bit of an overview of our learning communities and what it's like living on campus in them, and then I'll be back joining you for our Q&A a little bit later, so enjoy.
Okay, so for today, we're going to go over a couple of different topics. So we're going to talk about what learning communities are, some of the benefits for learning communities. We'll go over our residential learning communities that we have here on campus. We'll talk about the halls that learning communities are a part of. We'll go into some of the benefits for living on campus. We'll talk about how to apply for a learning community, since it's a little different from applying for housing in general. We'll have a couple of testimonials from current and former learning community students. And then finally, we'll get to the question and answer session at the end. So kind of a brief overview about learning communities. Learning communities here at UNC Charlotte are a joint initiative between academic affairs and student affairs, established to increase new students' academic success, learning, and engagement. We have a whole variety of learning communities here, and each of them are unique and are here to create community for the students and with faculty and staff through common courses, helping students really get access to things they wouldn't have normally. And students who choose to live in an LC have a direct connection to their classroom experience. They have access to intentional events and programs and dedicated staff members who work to make their community a success. Other things that aren't on here, learning community students have a lot of out-of-class experiences that they're able to participate in that help facilitate what they're learning in the classroom. And they also have a lot of individualized activities for their students to help them kind of feel more like an individual here on campus. So some of the benefits, a lot of people always want to know why choosing a learning community is important and why they would want to. So last year, for the previous academic year, students in our learning communities earned an average GPA of a 3.27, which was higher than that of the first year class average of a 3.17. They were retained at a higher rate of 86% than those that are not in learning communities, which was 82%. And retained just means coming back to the university again after the first year was over. and they completed more credit hours on average than their non-learning community counterparts at 27.7 credit hours to the 26.9 for non-LC students. Some other benefits: an instant community of peer support. Living with a bunch of people who have a similar mindset and similar goals to you can be very beneficial, not just in making friends, but completing some of the harder courses here on campus. Access to common courses that are reserved for other learning community participants, so that way you get to have a built-in study group with the people who you share classes with, which can be very helpful, so you're not having to try to make friends outside of class to find study groups. Most learning communities have dedicated tutoring and mentoring, which can be really helpful just to keep people on track and making sure that they're doing okay as the semester continues. And we also have experiential learning. So that's kind of those events that happen, experiences that learning community members get to take part in that aren't open to normal residents. And we also have plenty of other benefits like access to faculty and staff in the colleges that they're enrolled in, which can be helpful for planning out career plans, course selection, things of that nature. And then just being able to have those groups where you live can be very helpful, and a lot of our students find it beneficial as well. So our residential learning communities, I'm just gonna go on the left side, read them down, and then I'll go to the right side and read them down. So starting from business, we have the business learning community, computing and informatics, engineering, explore, health connection, leadership journey, and then on the right side we have education, English, gender excellence, history, success, and University Transition Opportunities Program, otherwise known as Utah. So I'll go into a little bit about each one of these, but you might have noticed that some of them have an asterisk. And so the ones with the asterisk are residential optional. So those ones, you aren't required to live on campus if you're a part of any of these learning communities. But there are components that are residential that you can participate in if you were to live on campus. For all the other ones without the asterisk, those are residential required, which means all of the participants in that learning community live on campus. So that's something to keep in mind as you are doing your own research and looking into them. But going over a couple of them, business is of course for pre-business majors. If you have a student that's interested in business, accounting, finance, things of that nature, that's a great learning community to get in and be a part of. Computing and informatics, so any computer science majors, if they want to learn how to work together in groups and try to get a head start in kind of thinking like a computer science major, that's a great opportunity. Engineering is the learning community that lives in Hawthorne, where I oversee, and that is just a great group for potential engineering students to kind of get together, get around like-minded people, work on a lot of the engineering projects, and get help with the classes that are for engineering students. Explore is for undeclared majors coming in, and it helps on career exploration and academic success tools. So that is helpful if you're a student or you are watching and you're not necessarily sure what you want to go into yet, you can explore. Health Connection is for college and health and human sciences majors. It's for people who might be wanting to go into helping in the medical field or the health field in general. So there's a lot of opportunities to help out, learn about what that entails. And that is a great opportunity for people to live on campus and get around those like-minded people as well. Leadership Journey is not based on a major, but for residents who are looking to increase their leadership skills in particular and kind of learn about their own leadership style and focus. So if you have someone who is very interested in gaining more leadership skills and or knowledge, community service, things of that nature, Leadership Journey could be really interesting to look into. Education is for education majors, future teachers, started and get a head start on preparing for their educational careers. English is for English majors and people who are, it's open for all majors, but it's for people who are interested in literature and English and kind of working through those things and getting into the literary knowledge and having those conversations. Gender excellence is for all majors, but particularly for people who have an interest in social justice, women and gender studies, things of that nature, helping to kind of bring people into the next foot of their social awareness journey. History, for people who really enjoy history, enjoy talking about the great things that happened a long time ago and helping to just get prepared for the future and things of that nature. Success is for students in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and underclassmen students who are interested in gaining problem solving skills. They want to get creative, get some more leadership skills and things of that nature. And UTOP is open for everyone, particularly the people who participate in the summer University Transition Opportunities program. And that's basically a continuation of that summer program into the school year with a lot of those same things they talk about, transitioning into college well, and making sure that students are prepared to take on a university coursework as things get a little more different from high school into college. So talking about some of our learning communities, right here we have some different learning communities that are in Lynch Hall, which is where a lot of our learning communities reside currently. So we just have a couple different pictures for different events. So the picture on the far right, or on the far left, is there's a bunch of RAs, and they did a paint program with a bunch of students from different learning communities just to have like a de-stress throughout the school year, and really just kind of celebrate a time where they can relax and not have to focus so much on studying and enjoying themselves in the moment. In the middle, there's a Success LLC, the one that I had just talked about. They were having a game night in Lynch in one of the classroom spaces. So that's some of our learning community students who were just having a great time together. And then they were all in the same learning community, so they were able to have that kind of be a spontaneous thing for them. And the picture on the far right is from the Explore learning community. They are taking a group picture before they went out to an experiential learning activity that they were going to participate in. And so those are the kind of things that happen in Lynch Hall. There's a lot of other things that happen, but these are a couple ones that we wanted to just kind of highlight to show the camaraderie and community that can be achieved in learning communities in Lynch. And here's Hawthorne. So the engineering learning community lives in Hawthorne Hall. And we have a couple of different big events every year. The two pictures on your left are from our gingerbread baking competition. So every December, towards the end of the semester, we have this gingerbread baking competition where the engineering students can get together and try to build a structurally sound gingerbread house. And it's a very big hit. People always come in and they want to participate and have the best gingerbread house. And we have weights that we put on top of them. And so we see whose gingerbread house can hold the most weight without collapsing on itself. And a lot of the engineering students really take that as like a fun challenge where they can test their skills, but also just relax and have fun at the end of the semester. The pictures on the right, the first one with the two 3D printers are some of the things that we have in our creativity lab down in Hawthorne. So a lot of our residents will come in and they'll want things made for their whatever projects they're working on, and we have a 3D printer available that's staffed by an engineering student who was able to help them get those projects made. And we do have a laser engraver as well, again, for any other projects or things that students are working on. If they want to learn about these kinds of things, they have access to that once they are admitted and they live in the engineering learning community. So not just for learning communities, but living on campus as a whole, some of the benefits themselves are that most students are more successful academically, and they have a higher GPA when they live on campus, which is really important. We want to make sure that students are here for their academics, and living on campus has traditionally led to higher GPAs than those who don't live on campus. Residents and students are more likely to graduate in 4 years. They're more likely to enjoy their collegiate experience, and there are more opportunities to get involved when you live on campus. As you're here a lot more often, you can get more connected to the campus community and the campus resources. There's tons of events that are always happening. There's tons of groups that are around. So being able to just be here and take advantage of those things whenever your schedule allows it can be very beneficial to students' development and their study habits. Some other benefits, you're close to the main campus and its resources. We have the Writing Center on campus. We have a very, very nice University Recreation Center that's right here in the middle of campus. The Student Union, there's so many great things that you can have access to within a short walk when you live on campus. Cable and high-speed internet, always included when you live on campus with us. So it's included within the cost of your rent. So that is all really good. As someone who lives on campus themselves, I can say that the high-speed internet is great. We have on-site laundry facilities and laundry included, so you don't have to pay for each load of laundry that you do when you live on campus, as all of our laundry facilities in each hall are included. And then we have leadership opportunities. So each hall has a leadership council. So if your student wants to get involved, or if you are a student watching and you want to get involved with a leadership council in your hall, that's a very unique opportunity to kind of further develop your leadership skills with a residence education coordinator and other peers to kind of help facilitate programs in the building, help advocate for other residents, things of that nature. A lot of intangible skills that you can pick up just from living on campus. Some other things, there's some dedicated in-hall study spaces that can be really beneficial, so you don't have to go to the library to study. You can find those study rooms in your hall. You get a choice of different meal plans depending on how long you live on campus and where you're at. You can have a flexible variety for that. And flexible assignment changes can be achieved whenever we have room switch periods, room change periods. If something appears open and you would want to move, that's very flexible and we can work with you on that. Some other benefits, safety and security. We have security guards that come to all of our halls at night. Our UNC Charlotte police patrol the campus 24/7. Exterior doors are always locked, so only people who live in the building can swipe into the building. We have security cameras in all of our halls, sprinkler and fire alarm systems in case of any emergencies. And we always have housing staff like myself and others that are on call 24/7. For any emergency responses that need to be dealt with. So we also have resident advisors, or RAs, that live in each of the building that provide support and help students acclimate to the UNC Charlotte community. We usually have a lot of knowledgeable RAs about different campus resources and their own experiences that can be helpful for the residents as they try to guide their way through their first years on campus. And our RAs also sponsor social and educational and academic success-based programs, things that can help your student learn about study skills, time management. They can learn about how to start their own organization if they want to start their own club, teach them about tools on campus that they might not be aware of. So we do a lot to try to help provide all the resources to students so that they can be the most successful. And we also have a front desk at each of our halls that is also operational whenever school is in the session. So you can always feel free to come by the front desk if there's any questions at any time when you live on campus as well. So applying for learning communities, you have to complete a separate application before you can apply for a learning community. So you have to first complete your housing application. And after you do, if you want to apply for a residential only learning community, you have to go in and do that application separately. You may not be able to select the hall where the LC is located when you're filling out your housing application initially, due to the fact that those spaces are reserved and you would be added into those after being accepted into the learning community. So after you would complete your housing application, you would go to lc.uncc.edu and you would be able to complete the application there. So once completed, you'll be notified of your status after your application has been reviewed by the learning community coordinator. But right now I'm gonna kind of show how to get to the website and how to apply. So that way you can navigate the website on your own and hopefully not run into any issues. So if you look on the website, as you can see up there at the top, lc.uncc.edu, you're gonna click on apply now and it will take you to the next page. So when you're on the page, you'll go to where the arrow is pointing, where it says Learning Community Application, and that will take you to the link where you'll be able to see the application, and you'll have your student or yourself log in to your account, and then you'll be able to submit your application through there. But if you have questions or you want to know more about the learning community and you want to contact those learning community coordinators, as you can see at the bottom of the screen in that box, there's a contact the coordinators of the communities link that you can click. And when you click on that link, you'll be taken to this page where it'll tell you the list of all the learning communities where there's a residential required option, where the ones on the left, the ones in the middle are residential optional, and the ones on the right are there's no residential component. So you'll be able to look through all of those. So you'll scroll down, which will take you down to this page, and you will click on the plus button of whichever learning community you will be trying to learn more about. And within that plus button, it'll have information about who the learning community coordinator is, a little bit more information about each learning community, and that contact information will also be there as well. And you'll be able to learn more and then review as many of the learning communities as you like before you submit that learning community application. So we have a couple of testimonials here, so I'll just go and read them from left to right. So we'll start with Dave. Living on campus with my learning community has been very rewarding. The community members have become my friends and given me a group of people I can spend time with and depend on for support. So that kind of speaks to the nature of the learning community, how it can be a support system as well as an academic success tool. In the middle was Maddie. The learning community has helped me engage in professional development by making connections with professionals in the fields I'm interested in. As a group, we travel together to multiple companies, and most of the people we meet are willing to keep in contact with us. So networking and expanding that network, depending on what field you may be interested in, can be something that is an intangible benefit of joining a learning community that Maddie speaks to. And lastly, with Heather, I met so many people with the same interests and career goals that I am still friends with today. I truly believe that joining a learning community helps you adjust to college life. And Heather speaks to kind of the social aspect of learning communities and how they can help forge those friendships that go beyond just the academic nature of learning communities and the benefits you can gain for your GPA and things of that nature, but the friendships that can come along the way. So those are kind of some of the testimonials that we have from various different former and current students from learning communities, which brings us to our Q&A session. So I think we have had a couple people drop their questions in.
So yeah, we did have a few people submit questions with their registration. And so I thought we could start with those. And then we also have one current question in our Q&A question. But as a reminder to participants, if you have questions that you'd like to ask our panelists, please go ahead and submit those in the Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen. And we'll read those and share those answers for you all. So I know that you all talked about benefits of living in learning communities or working with learning communities at UNC Charlotte. Will you tell us if there's a fee for joining learning communities for students?
Yeah, so there is no additional fee to apply to join learning communities. Learning community application is just a separate thing that you would have to fill out on your own, but there is no additional fee that comes with applying for learning communities.
We also had a participant. Sorry,
just to clarify that piece, not only is there no application fee, but there's no fee for participating either. And so that's fully funded by the university. The additional trips that you're gonna potentially be able to take to visit maybe career development areas, those are all funded by the university, either through the Learning Communities program or in some of the residential community cases with HRL.
Thank you. We also had a participant ask if there's anything in particular that you all look for in applicants for learning communities.
That's a great question. You know, I think what a lot of so each learning community coordinator, so the person who's going to be working with you if you're accepted in the learning community, is going to be there reviewing your applications. And so a lot of what they're looking for is people who are excited about that content of their learning community, whether that's interest-based, like Gen X or gender excellence, or more around a major. They're looking for people who are excited to explore that information and who want to be a part of a community. We really pride ourselves on our learning communities being a great place that students really connect to. It's a lot of starting to build that either home away from home if you're residential, or even just finding your group of people at the university, whether you live on or off. And so I think just excitement and willingness to engage and give some of your time to invest so that you can reap all the benefits that Jamal highlighted in this presentation.
Another question that was submitted before the presentation is how COVID-19 precautions might shape the learning community experience. And so can you talk more specifically about what that might look like? The question specifically asks for 2 people in one room with a bathroom, but I think that that's probably a broader question that people are having as to the on-campus living experience.
Absolutely. So we are hard at work trying to figure out all the ways and programs that we can help students feel comfortable and safe when they come back to campus, given all that the world is currently dealing with. And so particularly around shared bathrooms, shared bedrooms, it is a very common question that we've been getting. And so within a unit, so if you are living, let's say in a suite or apartment, whether that's a 1, 2, or 4 bedroom unit, students are responsible for cleaning that interior space. So we're not going to have staff entering to clean individual bathrooms or individual bed spaces. So we're really going to be working with our students to educate them about what appropriate cleaning looks like. We do that in a regular year, but we'll certainly be honing in on that a little differently this year. So we want them to feel prepared and capable of managing that just like they would off campus, but also for them to be able to work with their roommates, right? Different people are going to have different preferences when it comes to that cleaning. And so we facilitate roommate agreements at the start of the semester to be able to get roommates on the same page about all kinds of topics, whether that's cleaning, guests, noise, all the fun stuff that comes with living with each other, but certainly have put into place a number of those related to COVID-19. Another element of that is our guest policy, and so we will be looking at a modified guest policy just to make sure that we are being respectful of students' use of that space, and making sure that we're making good decisions about how many people may be in the space at the time. Those guidelines are still being finalized and put into place as we pull on best practices and other resources, but you can expect additional information either through Niner notices or through the Niner Nation Cares FAQ page, as well as information directly from HRL emails that will be coming out to residential students as we get closer to that move-in period.
And for our new students and families, I will also share that you will be receiving an email within the next few days after your SOAR session from our provost, sharing a little bit more information on the details about what returning to campus will look like and how we will have safety measures in place for your classes that you're participating in this year. And so you will continue to get more information on that in the coming days, even after your SOAR session. We have some great questions coming in on the Q&A chat here. So participants, as a reminder, if you click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the webinar, you can submit any questions that you have there. So our first question is, what is the experience like for commuters in the UTOP learning community? And another participant who is also a commuter asked about timing that events might take place. And so if you could answer both of those questions from a commuter perspective, I think that would help our participants.
Absolutely. So talking about the overall experience for our students and learning community, you'll notice kind of in that initial, one of the charts on the website that Jamal highlighted, we have some communities that are all residential, meaning all members of the learning communities live within a specified hall in a space so they're clustered together. We also have optional, and that means that students can live on campus in that cluster, on campus outside of that cluster. Maybe you know a friend from high school who you want to bring in, but they aren't qualified or aren't interested for that learning community. You can live in a different hall and still be a part of those communities, as well as for our commuter students. And then we have our non-residential, which has no residential component. So you're going to have exactly mirrored experiences regardless of where you live in that case. When it does come to residential or residential optional, participants who don't live in that immediate cluster, either because they're living elsewhere on campus or because they're a commuter, you're still going to have lots of common experiences. So you'll be taking common courses together. You're still going to have those co-curricular events that I know one of our other participants highlighted in their question. And so your academic experience is going to be the same. A lot of that co-curricular is going to look really similar. It's just whether or not you walk down the hall and knock on a door and they're the same major or are involved in that same coursework that you are from your common classes. Looking at the timing of events, that's really going to vary from learning community to learning community. And so some of them, I'll highlight our business learning community as an example. This last semester, they did Friday career exploration trips. And so they were able to travel to nearby headquarters. I believe they went to Lowe's and a number of other places to be able to connect with professionals who are working in business there. And so those were specially timed, but your learning coordinator is going to be able to give you all that information up front in a syllabus, or if you reach out to them on that individual basis, I'm confident that they can give you when their events typically happen. It shouldn't necessarily clash with your other classes. Typically, our learning coordinators are going to be really aware of that and plan to do it a little bit after classes may end, may poll students to find out what time works best for them. It's going to be an individualized approach, but we're certainly not going to recommend that you miss a different class in order to participate in a learning communities program. And then whether that's within school hours, we really have classes that range from a pretty broad amount of time. Some courses that happen later in the evenings, early morning, and so it's really going to depend on that individual LC, as I mentioned.
So our next participant question is whether students are allowed to join more than one learning community.
That's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have students don't have the ability to join more than one learning community, but you do have the ability to apply to more than one. I would really encourage you to think about what your priorities are within that. So if you do get multiple offers, you can answer in a timely manner. We do have a turnaround time on our application from when our learning community coordinator says that they'd love to welcome you into their community for you to give a response. Just make sure we give other students the opportunity and aren't holding spaces for students who may not be pursuing that fully. But you can apply to multiple, but just be sure to check out the prerequisites or requirements. So many are involved in what major you're a part of, and so that very much might limit how many communities you're interested in. But we do have some based on interest, like Gen X and our leadership journey, that you could definitely consider multiple of.
Students also learn at SOAR that if there is not a student organization that matches their needs or interests, that they can start that on their own. And so we also have a question about whether students can create a learning community on their own that might meet their needs.
Well, we would love to have you join one of our learning communities because it sounds like you're really excited about whatever you have in mind. Right now, we don't have a formal process for learning communities be created in a student-driven initiative. And part of the reason of that is that we need faculty to join, or staff who are going to lead those, sometimes teach those common courses. And so if you do have an interest that you don't see reflected, I would really encourage you to reach out to either the academic department who might be a part of and see if there are other adjacent opportunities. They may have other forms of engagement that's not a learning community that you can become a part of, whether that be research or more club or organization based, or to reach out to our LC program group and put just a little voice out there that, hey, I'd be really interested if this were a thing. You never know what can come about out of someone's interest. I'd imagine that a number of our communities came from students wanting to engage in a different way. So there's not a formal pathway in the way that student organizations have, but we're absolutely thrilled to hear your ideas if you have them.
So for our participants, if you have additional questions, please feel free to add those to the Q&A. The button is available at the bottom of the screen. Jamal and Stephanie, I have maybe a more personal question for each of you. So you both work with learning communities on campus as staff members. Can you talk to us a little bit about why you enjoy working with learning communities and what you see the value as?
Yeah, for me, I work in Hawthorne, where the engineering learning community lives and resides and works in. But I have really enjoyed seeing them come together and work, especially with those projects they have for engineering in those groups. We've had a lot of people who've come in from far, far away who don't know anyone, but because they're in the learning community, they're able to have that kind of built-in connection and being able to just kind of help those students along the way and see how I can help serve them and best help them get to where they want to be has been really fun and enlightening for me. And just seeing the results within the 1 year that they're here from when they come in, and if we're able to make that connection early to see where they leave at has been some of the most rewarding things I've ever seen working here on campus. So the groups that form, the bonds that they make, the ability that they can work together on those projects and get further than they would have by themselves is really cool to just kind of see. And yeah.
I'd echo a lot of what Jamal indicated, but I think it really is about that looking back and seeing how connected they are. I hope that all of our students within the university, I think they can all attach to something, whether that's a club or maybe a place where they hang out with friends, maybe it's their living experience in the halls. But I think being able to see our learning community participants look back on their first year is one of the most exciting pieces because they've made really special connections with faculty. They feel often that they're connected to them in a mentorship kind of role. And so they're able to use that relationship to help guide them beyond their first year. But I've also built that cohort to help them be resilient and make it to graduation in that major. They found their study buddies and the person they call when they're like, I missed this note, what do I do? And so just seeing those social structures and the excitement that they have for what their first year experience was. We did a webinar similar to this a couple of weeks ago and had one of our students come and share her experiences. It was just so exciting to hear what a difference as a senior who was about to graduate, that participation in this case, her engineering community, it made a huge difference for her. And it's just exciting to see students be able to speak to the impact of that once we've kind of wrapped up our year.
We did have another question come in about academic credits. So do students gain any academic credits from participating in learning communities?
So the academic credit that you're going to receive will be in the courses that you take connected to the learning community. And so sometimes that may be what we call a prospect for success course or a class that's just with your learning community about some of the co-curricular elements and the in the classroom learning that connect to that. Or sometimes it's going to be a course for your major that you're taking together. So some of our learning communities take Calculus 1 together. Any courses that you're going to see that academic credit for, but that participation in the learning community doesn't strictly offer additional academic credit.
And what about tutoring opportunities? Are there tutoring opportunities available to students participating in learning communities?
Absolutely. So that is going to shift a little bit from community to community. So some of our learning communities have peer mentors, and they can be a great resource when it comes to learning class material. Some have tutoring opportunities specifically connected to our learning communities offered by the academic department that's sponsoring. But overall, all of our students on campus and certainly within our learning communities are also going to have access to our UCAE group, which is our Academic Excellence Center of Academic Excellence, and they have tutoring services available by different class topics, as well as some general kind of building your academic skills opportunities, thinking about how do I organize myself and manage my time, or I'm really struggling with procrastination and motivation. They offer great seminars as well as one-on-one consultation opportunities, whether you're in a community that might offer additional options or not.
I'll give folks just another minute to add any questions that they might have to our Q&A session. If not, I will also share. Jamal and Stephanie, thank you very much for your time this afternoon talking with us all about learning communities. For our participants, if you are interested in accessing this presentation again, it will be posted to our website next week. So we have recorded this session for you all. Our website is nsfs.uncc.edu. So New Student and Family Services is our office, nsfs.uncc.edu. That's where this content will be if you want to refer back to it, if you want to share it with any friends or family members so that they can hear all about learning communities and the opportunities available to students as well. We're happy to have you do so. There is another question that's come in through the Q&A. So what is the deadline to apply for learning communities, and do you all still have space available for students?
Sure. So it's going to depend based off of each of the learning communities. So for our residential communities, we do have a deadline for them to place any students in their community by June 30th. And so you're going to want to be getting your application in pretty soon. And if you have questions about whether or not they still have spaces available, I would encourage you to reach out to that particular coordinator. They know how many students they're looking for and how many spaces might be available. But I would really encourage you, if you're thinking about applying to the learning community, to think about doing soon, residential or residential optional in particular, but really being able to secure your space to make sure that you give yourself that opportunity to participate and get some of the great things out of our learning communities.
Robin is also asking about move-in appointments and whether those will be tied to communities or class standing, like first year, second year students.
Sure. So we are currently finalizing those details. We're still working on a system, kind of a back-end technological system, as well as just making sure that we have a system in place that makes sense for our students. So in some ways they're tied to, if by communities you mean halls, absolutely we are looking at limiting how many students are going to be coming in at a time, and part of that is looking at per hall. In terms of specific learning communities, they're unlikely to be attached to any categories or characterizations about when you'd be able to schedule an appointment. Class standing, that's something that's still being considered, and so we will be working through those different pieces, but know that those appointments are not going to be launched until at least August, and so we will be communicating more details about different elements of that process, how you get in, what you need to know as we get closer to that time frame.
Excellent. Well, Stephanie and Jamal, thank you both for your time, for talking with us about learning communities. To our participants, again, this will be available next week on our website, nsfs.uncc.edu. We appreciate everybody's interest, and please let us know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on campus this fall.